Hey guys, Kenny here, Ken Small Engines. Today's video is about our favorite engine, the Kohler Courage. Everybody knows I'm a big fan of Kohler, but the Courage engine, not really the biggest fan. Anyway, my most popular video out there that I've been doing the videos, I don't know, 2.5 years. The most popular one, most views I get is of the Courage 20 that I did a little bit of tune-up and stuff on and some tips and tricks for a customer. And this is another Courage 20 that came in this past week where the operator couldn't get it started. It was popping out the carburetor and making all kinds of noises, and he did all kinds of stuff, but didn't get it going, dropped it off. I learned a little bit about this engine that I didn't know. Henry Morawski helped me out with a head. He had a used head, but look at the video, see what was wrong with it. And I didn't really get in depth on taking the head off and putting it back on because it's only 6 screws. It really isn't much. You know, you clean off the gasket surface. There's 2 dowels on there. You pop in the head, and it really isn't much. So I didn't really do that because most of you guys on here have taken heads off before. But look at what I think the problem was, what caused it. I definitely know what caused it, what the problem was. But what caused it, you know, it's still up in the air. I talk about it at the end. So stay tuned, and hopefully you guys can learn from it. Again, Kohler Courage engines, you got to be courageous to work on them, I guess. But have fun watching it, guys. I had fun making it. We'll talk to you soon. Hey guys, Kenny here, Ken Small Engines. Well, what we have here is the favorite of a lot of people, the Kohler Courage engine. It's the Courage 20, and it's a pull-on pro tractor. And the problem the customer said was he would crank the engine, it would spit and sputter, and it wouldn't start. So he changed the fuel pump, he changed the carburetor, did all kinds of stuff. And when I got it, I turned the key and I would hear it pop, pop, pop out the carburetor. And I said, normally that's a problem with the exhaust valve. So I took off the valve cover here, and this is what I found. It is a cracked rocker arm. Okay. And then I said to myself, what would cause a rocker arm to crack? And I'll show you in a minute basically what it was. The valve guide walked its way up, so it wouldn't allow the valve to move. The retainer would hit the valve guide, and the push rod, I guess, is strong. It's a steel push rod, and it was enough where it cracked the rocker arm. So let me take that valve cover off. I'll show you what I found. All right, let's take this sucker off. So, one thing I noticed on these screws, this thing's been apart before. There is never sees on the screws, okay? And these didn't come with the factory, from the factory with never sees, and also there's RTV, but no gasket. And these things came with a gasket and not RTV. So, somebody has actually been in this engine, okay? And one thing I also noticed is on these heads, there's supposed to be an aluminum push rod on the intake and a steel push rod on the exhaust. And if you notice, the push rod on the exhaust, now it's bent because it broke the rocker arm, but it's not steel, it's aluminum. That's supposed to be steel. Somebody's been in this engine before, okay? Someone's been in it. You're supposed to have a steel push rod, aluminum for the intake, and steel for the exhaust. So somebody's been in here. Not good. But I don't know what the guy did, but I'm gonna have to fix it. So I'm gonna take the head off. I'm gonna disconnect the exhaust, disconnect the carburetor. I'll take the head off. And my good friend Henry Morawski was over there yesterday. He sold me a used head. Okay, it's a decent head. So I'm going to use that and we'll go from there and put it on, and we'll see what we get. All right, so I will be back shortly, guys. All right, guys, head is off, and you know, it definitely looks like it's been apart before. All right, head gasket, it's not blown, but it's not in the best of shape. And one thing I noticed too on the intake, this stud here that's supposed to hold on the carburetor intake manifold, it doesn't look right. I have to see what's going on. Hold on a second. Hold on. The one that's on the one he gave me, it's weird. It's got a screw and then it's got a stud that holds it on. And I don't know what this thing is for. I'll have to come back to that. All right, guys, we're back on this Courage. It's all back together. It did start on the first turn. I'll show you real quick. But I wanted to talk to you about something I found, and I want to talk about it. Let's go. So that went well. All right, it's all back together. It runs good, but what I noticed was, I'm saying to myself, how could that guide have overheated enough where it's going to do that? And if you look at this head, see how you have that straight casting there, part of the head? I'm going to show you something on the old one. The old head has this heat shield. It's not a thick rib, it's a thin rib with a tapped hole on the top and a tapped hole on the bottom, where it keeps the fins enclosed. Now in my mind, if you keep those fins enclosed like that, it's gonna trap dirt. Yeah, will it circulate a little more air over them? Yeah, as long as it's not full of crap, okay? And I'm thinking, because if you look in here, you can see all the discoloration on the exhaust valve. I'm thinking this thing got full of junk. All right, it overheated. The guide, you can hear it. I can't push it more than 1/8 of an inch. All right, the guide lifted up because it got overheated, and the aluminum expanded so much that the press fit didn't work, and then it bent the push rod, which actually bent the rocker arm and cracked the rocker arm. So, like I said, guys, someone had been in here before. You could tell because it didn't have a gasket, a cork gasket. These things have an expensive, what is this? Let's see, $6.50. They have a cork gasket that goes on them, okay? This one didn't have a gasket. This one just had RTV, okay? And also the bolts that go through to hold on that valve cover actually had never sees on some of them. So this thing's been apart. Look, it's been gooped up. It's been apart. Someone's been in this engine. So whether they were in it and they didn't know what they were doing or not, I don't know. But just to give you guys the part number, if you're ever putting a new head on, all right, you get this kit, cylinder head gasket kit, 20-84101S. And that comes with great instructions, torque sequences, diagrams, all that stuff on how to put everything back together. But it also comes with a set of new head bolts. Now, one thing I didn't do on this, only because of time and, you know, budget, not really, but time, Kohler says don't reuse these head bolts. Well, you know what? It's a lawn tractor. I mean, is it gonna go crazy? Nah, but what I'm gonna do, because all the purists out there are gonna say, oh, it's gonna fail. No, I'm gonna heat cycle this engine 3 times. I'm gonna run it nice and hot. I just cut my grass. Then I'm gonna retorque when it gets cold. I'm gonna do that 3 times. And I found that if you retorque bolts on small engines 2 or 3 times, heat cycle them, they stay tight. So, all right, like I said, this thing is done. It's ready to go back to the customer. But if you have a Courage that has just the head without that heat shield on it or that air deflector, check the air deflector, guys. Make sure that you don't have grass and stuff built up in this air deflector, because I'll be honest with you, if that thing trapped a bunch of grass in there, where is it? It's on the exhaust side. That would cause a lot of heat built up in there because it wouldn't allow the airflow through. And that could cause it to overheat. And I'm thinking that's what happened, because how else would you get all that heat up there, you know? All right, guys, another successful repair. Kohler Courage pull-on pro tractor, 20 horsepower. Customer will be happy. I think I paid probably $50. I think I gave Henry $50 for the head and some other little parts. Probably cost me about $25 in gas to get up there. So that's $75, and then, you know, maybe 2 hours worth of labor. So customer won't have a huge bill. He'll be happy. He'll get his tractor back. He'll be cutting his grass. So, all right, guys, that's it for now. Got any questions, comments, suggestions? I apologize for not showing you the full assembly, but for the most part, all you're doing is taking the head off, putting the head back on, 6 bolts. All right, you torque them to 15 foot-pounds, then 30 foot-pounds, okay? Adjust the rocker arms to 5 and 6 thousandths, intake exhaust. That's it, you're done. Not hard at all. So anyway, oh, I also found out that adapter on the side with that little stud sticking out, it's an air cleaner stud, but it's actually a carriage bolt. And the carriage bolt goes into that black plastic spacer, and the square part of the carriage bolt holds that carriage bolt tight so that you can tighten the air cleaner onto it. So that's what that was for. But again, any questions on these Kohler Courages? First time I've seen one with a sucked up valve guide, overheated, and I guarantee you it's caused by that heat shield. This must be a newer design. It does not have the heat shield, does not have the tapped holes for the heat shield. So it just allows free airflow over it when the shroud is on and allows it to cool off. So I'm thinking that's what the problem was. All right, guys, you got any questions about these Kohler Courages or about anything in general, small engines, give me a shout in the comments, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, guys, little stuff at the end. Here's that kit you get, the head kit, and you buy it. Part number was in the video. You get the head gasket, the valve cover gasket, intakes, exhaust, and the new studs. So it's in there, just so you can see what it is. It's a pretty good kit for the money. All right, talk to you later. All right, guys, I also wanted to talk about the push rods, because when I was talking to Henry, you know, Henry was saying, oh, you got to have the steel push rod on the exhaust and the aluminum push rod on the intake. And generally that's so with all engines. It's generally the way it is. But I was looking online, I couldn't find a steel push rod for the exhaust. Now, Kohler for the Courage calls out the part number 2411 02S and an 04S. Now, one's not available and the other one's been superseded to this one, the 05, and they sell them in pairs too. So what I'm thinking is they're steel tipped but aluminum push rods. So I was mistaken, or maybe I was mistaken, I don't know, but it looks like the push rods in the Courage, I haven't taken enough of them apart to tell you, but it looks like the push rods are both aluminum in the Kohler Courage engine with that part number now, 2411 05S. There's steel tips on it, and but aluminum bodies. So the one that was in there, it wasn't bent a lot. It was bent about 40 thousandths. I actually bent it back, put on a surface plate, got it true within a thou, and it's running great. So just to let you know, guys, the push rods are aluminum, so don't get alarmed if you find 2 aluminum push rods in your Courage 20. They're supposed to be aluminum. So like I said, these Kohler Courage, I'm still learning on them too.